the parents see the results.
Yep.
And the kid is talking about it, right?
Right,
They're coming back
absolutely.
and they're saying, listen to what I learned about today.
Yeah.
Hey, have we ever thought about this? And the stories we hear of now the family's reading the Bible together. Now the family's getting plugged into church. The public school students can be released from public school during school hours to attend religious classes if the program is off school property, privately funded, and students have parental permission. This was a case called Zorak v. Clausen. We provide a plug-and-play program that any community across the country could implement to reach their local public school students with the Bible. We have a program in Northwest Ohio that the school has 1,000 kids in the school.
Yes.
Well, 900 of them are in LifeWise.
That's awesome.
And so 5 times a day, 5 days a week, the 72-passenger bus pulls up.
Wow.
Gets 2 classrooms worth of kids. They get on the bus, head down the road, go into their classrooms, get their lesson, get back on the bus, go back and get another group.
All right. Welcome to Turn Up with Pastor Charlie. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the River Radio's podcast studio for the space that we now occupy to broadcast worldwide, and to our visionary, Bert and Stephanie Lindsay and the Lindsay Foundation, and all of our partners, local churches, school, 501c3s, nonprofit organizations who have come beside us, all for the well-being of the community. As always, I'm excited about my guests that are in the studio, but today I'm even more excited about someone by the name of Joel Penton. Joel, say hello to the watching and listening audience.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you, Pastor Charlie. It's great to be here.
It's great to see you, man. Joe Penton is an Ohio-based nonprofit leader, former Ohio State football player, and humanitarian Heisman recipient, public speaker, and author. He founded LifeWise Academy, bringing Bible education into public schools, communities through release time laws, and has overseen its significant nationwide, and it is growing. So tell us a little bit about LifeWise.
Yeah.
What is LifeWise Academy, Joel?
Yeah, thank you. Well, LifeWise Academy, as you said, we provide Bible education for public school students during school hours.
Yes.
That sounds strange to most people listening in 2025 because they think, wait a minute, public school, Bible, how can those go together?
Right.
We are all too aware that decades ago our nation systematically removed Bible education from the public school day. What few people know, although the number is growing, but what not many people know is that it's possible to put it back, that it's possible to reinstall Bible education for public school students through a little known but legal practice that you mentioned called release time religious instruction. So again, this little known thing back in 1952, the Supreme Court ruled that public school students can be released from public school during school hours to attend religious classes if the program is off school property, privately funded, and students have parental permission. This was a case called Zorak v. Clausen. Sadly, it kind of just went under the radar, unnoticed for the most part, for 70 years. I mean, that was 1952.
70 years.
Yeah, so this thing of release time, kids being released from school, getting to learn the Bible and going back to school. Yeah, it was happening here and there in pockets around the country, but for the most part, people didn't know about it. Well, long story short, we learned about it, or at least I was introduced to this because of people in my hometown started a release time program. They had saw incredible impact, and they asked me, how could we see this expand or spread, or why don't more communities have it? That's really how LifeWise was born, and that's what we do. We provide a plug-and-play program that any community across the country could implement to reach their local public school students with the Bible.
Yeah, that's amazing. It, like you said, 70 years, that's kind of like unaware or swept under the rug, or not, no one looked into it again, like we're comfortable with taking prayer out of the schools, and we're like comfortable. We accept it, no one dug into it. So dug into it, found out like, wait a minute, something's missing here. And here's the answer. So I know a little bit about it, but share with our watching and listening audience that process. What does it look like for a child who agrees, who have to have parents' permission, right?
Right.
Yeah. Talk us through what do that time look like?
Yeah, so it's fairly simple to explain. It's less simple to implement, which is kind of why we exist, to give the tools and resources for communities to implement. But it's pretty simple. We tend to start serving elementary school children. We will expand into middle and high school, but we tend to start at elementary. And so you think about an elementary school student schedule. They have all their basic classes that they get every day, English and math and science and things like that. But they also have what are often called specials. They have art class they get maybe once a week. They have music class, gym class here and there. Well, with LifeWise, they can have another special that is Bible class. And so their parents will sign them up at the beginning of the school year, fill out a permission slip that you need parental permission. And then once a week for that child, there's an opportunity. It might be during what would otherwise be a study hall, or it might be during what would be library time, or maybe it's during lunch and recess. The LifeWise team comes usually in a big red bus.
Yes.
and the students who are signed up are released and get on the bus, usually ride it like a half a mile down the road to the nearest church. And that's where they have a Bible lesson. And we teach students through the whole Bible, Genesis through Revelation, over the course of their elementary school years. But they get their Bible lesson, then they get back on the bus and head back. And then usually another batch of kids then gets on. And so our largest programs can be it can be quite an operation. We have a program in Northwest Ohio that the school has 1,000 kids in the school. Well, 900 of them are in LifeWise.
That's awesome.
And so 5 times a day, 5 days a week, the 72-passenger bus pulls up.
Wow.
It's 2 classrooms worth of kids. They get on the bus, head down the road, go into their classrooms, get their lesson, get back on the bus, go back and get another group. And so it can become quite an operation, but the impact is really, it's huge and it's exciting to see.
That bus ride, from my understanding, has to be a certain amount of distance, so it's not very far bus ride, right?
Yeah,
what's the restriction of that?
Well, there's no law about it. We like to see it as close as possible, and that's just to maximize time. If a certain portion, maybe 20% of our programs are next door, and we actually don't even bus. If there's a church next to the school, and students walk over. But almost every school has a church within a mile. Absolutely. Sometimes it's like just a block away. There are the rare instances that, especially if it's a country school, there might be a few miles. And so I know of one program that the bus ride is 7 minutes each way, and that's an eternity for kind of our operations.
Kids all on the bus,
right? But even in that case, you know what? Our teacher rides the bus with the students. She starts the lesson on the bus. She rides the bus back with them, and so where there's a will, there's a way.
Now, off air, you and I was talking. It's literally been 5 years. I remember the very first T.U.R.N meeting you were there. Explain how it has grown from that first meeting of starting to, we had COVID, then we had a spurt. Explain the growth.
Yes, it's been pretty wild. On one level, it's expected in the sense that we always, from day one, before we launched a single program, we had a nationwide vision. We believe this is something that the nation needs, and so we wanted to build something that could serve, as a tool, could serve churches and communities all across the nation. So that was the idea, but we didn't necessarily expect the rate of growth. And so we started with 2 schools in 2019, and I think that's around the time that T.U.R.N was starting to get up and running. Maybe it was, I don't know the exact months and things. But that's when we launched our first 2 schools. Well, those were 2 small rural schools. I live here in Central Ohio. And so from day one, even though I knew we'd start with some small schools out in the sticks, I thought we need to make sure that we have a program that can serve the suburbs and the inner city
as well.
And so we started having conversations even with the Lindsays and with others around town. Like, how do we make sure that this is something that's going to serve schools in Central Ohio? So anyway, that was in terms of the growth. In 2019, we're having all these ideas, and we launched our first 2 pilot programs. We have COVID that happens in 2020.
Yes.
We work with T.U.R.N on a learning extension center out of the Lindsay facility.
Yes, that was great.
It was great. It went well. We laid some groundwork, and we set the goal in 2020, even amidst COVID. We said, okay, we proved the concept in 2019 in a couple schools. Let's try to serve 25 schools by 2025. That was our big goal.
That was the goal. I love it. I know. I love this story. See, I know it. I'm sitting here like, but I love the story. Go ahead.
So that was, we thought that sounded really cool. Right. So 25 by 25. And we even started, raising some money to do it. And the very next year in 2021, we were serving 36 schools. And so we were like, okay,
all right, go.
We overshot the goal. Wow, that was fast. And that was the year in 2021 where we saw our first program in Columbus City Schools launch.
Yes.
Actually 2 schools, Mifflin and Windsor STEM launched. And then we saw our first suburban schools launch in New Albany. So anyway, 36 schools. So we went back to the whiteboard and we said, okay, our goal was obviously too small, way too small.
Kind of said that real softly too. Yeah. We had the whiteboard.
Not good at setting goals. So we did some math on what could the new goal be.
Yeah.
And the math was putting us a new 5-year goal. We always set 5-year goals. So the math was putting us at close to 1,000 schools.
Wow.
And so we said, you know what, let's round up, let's do it. So that became our 5-year goal, 1,000 schools by 2026.
Yeah.
And another long story short, we actually
we got time to go ahead.
Well, we've that when we set that goal, we heard, as you can imagine, people saying it's insane. What are you doing? You don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the team, and all that was true. We didn't have the team or infrastructure. And so again, we had to raise money and get to work, but the Lord blessed it. We outpaced that goal. To stay on pace for that goal, we should be serving 650 schools this school year.
Okay.
In the 25-26 school year, and then to hit 1,000 next year. But we're actually going to eclipse 1,000 this school year. In fact, we'll be in over 1,100 by end of school year. We're confirmed already in 1,300 schools. A couple hundred are probably going to launch next school year. But it's anyway, to go from 2 schools about 5 years ago to now over 1,000. It's been pretty wild, and it's been a learning experience. That's for sure.
Yeah, amen. Well, I can imagine there's been some challenges because T.U.R.N was launched around the same time as well, and we our plans was like, we just get started, see what God's going to do,
right? And
we had some rough roads going, but yet now we have so many partners. I mean, we have over 500 partners.
Wow.
We have a lot of resource connections. It's just amazing. We didn't, I can't say we didn't see this coming, because the goal and vision is to have a T.U.R.N on the east side of town, have a T.U.R.N on the north side of town, T.U.R.N up in New Albany, a T.U.R.N on, so we have goals to do that.
Yeah.
So to see where we're at now.
And I ran into, and now I can't remember. I wish I could. I used to be able to remember things. I can't even. And I ran into somebody who was saying, I think was in from out of town or something, to go and visit with the T.U.R.N team to learn about T.U.R.N, to even take it to another city. So it's
that is possible too, because Lexi. Ashley is in Lexington, Kentucky.
Yes,
so there's some possibility there. We had someone come from, where did they come from? Detroit. They came down to our meeting. Toledo. I think
that was
Toledo.
Perhaps what the connection was, or maybe I was hearing it through Vince, which is another chapter, the real T.U.R.N chapter of our story, which continues.
Yeah,
in God's providence. It's amazing all the many things He's doing accomplishing at the same time, But the way that LifeWise was getting going at about the same time T.U.R.N was getting going.
Yes.
And I know we're just one of the 500 partners or whatever, but especially for us getting started here in Central Ohio, T.U.R.N was absolutely critical. In fact, it probably doesn't happen without T.U.R.N.
Right.
It really doesn't. Right. I mean, it was because we really got started on the east side through T.U.R.N relationships.
Yes.
And the T.U.R.N meeting where I spoke briefly, where I shared about the LifeWise vision. You know who was sitting in the meeting? It was Vince Coleman.
Yeah.
And that's where I had talked with Bert about, Bert said, this LifeWise vision is really great. What will it take? And I said, Bert, it's going to take finding someone who may not exist. It's going to take finding someone who grew up in the city, who has ties to the education community, who has ties to the church community. And I started describing this person. I'm like, I don't know if they're even out there, but we're going to have to find that person. I go and speak at T.U.R.N, and he's sitting in the room, and his name is Vince Coleman, who led the charge. So it's really been critical.
I've talked to Vince a couple times, and we got to get the story clear and straight. What caused him to be there? Yeah. Because see, I know Bishop Kenny Moore. Okay. So when we was having the meeting, I was the person who made contacts for the networking. I got the network of getting the inviting. So I called him. I said, "Hey man, I need you to come to this meeting." And this was the table meeting before we had the meeting in the theater. Yeah. And he said, "Well, tell me about it." So I explained what we were trying to do. He said, "Sound like y'all not there yet." He said, "And plus I'm gonna be out of town." He said, "But I'll send somebody." So his daughter came. He sent his daughter. Yeah, she's the one that ran the LEC for New Birth.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So his daughter came, Bonita. So and Vince was there. So I don't know how
that meeting that's the meeting.
The table meeting. He didn't send anybody. Bonita came to the first T.U.R.N meeting in the theater.
Yeah. Well, that was the one. Here's all I know of the story, because I didn't know that I laid eyes on Vince. I was at the front of the room when I spoke.
He was in the back of the room.
He said, if I recall, you can have him correct the story, but he said he was there. He didn't really want to be there. Maybe somebody twisted his arm to be there. He said that he was on his phone, like doing email or something, and he heard us say Bible education during school hours. He said he did one of those where he didn't even move his head up. He just kind of looked up like, what are we talking about? Because he's a former principal. Yeah. And then he said he just listened, and we described our need, and that he felt like it was describing him. Yeah. And in fact, then I was talking with the group. Steve brought Steve brought Vince up to me and said, "Hey, Vince wants to talk about this role." So, and he took the job right away. It was off to the races. Yeah,
it's been a blessing. Vince is one of my spiritual brothers. We pray together every Saturday morning. So I'm gonna have to revisit that conversation with him. How did you get to T.U.R.N, Vince?
Well, I've heard him tell the story. He says the clouds parted, the heavens opened.
Right.
You hear the sound of
Besides
that,
but nevertheless, it has just been an awesome journey. How is ministry seeing life change with LifeWise?
Yeah, well, it's such a joy. We get kind of a front row seat to see the power of the Word of God and the gospel. And one of the things we do, we talk about being a storytelling culture within LifeWise. We recognize that rightly remembering God's faithfulness increases our faith in Him and keeps us on the right trajectory. Yes. And we recognize that the people of God have always been storytelling people, that the most real estate in the Bible is taken up by the retelling of the Exodus story over and over. And so one of the things we do is have our local program directors, once a month, they fill out a form that says how things are going, and they put some stories in there of the impact they're seeing. Well, we get to read those as they come in. And so sometimes it's 100 stories a week will come in, and stories of families getting reconnected to church, kids being baptized. I just read a story to our team yesterday morning about there was a volunteer at one of our programs. Her husband passed away. Okay. And to hear that the kids all coming together and praying for this volunteer, and the kids being confronted with the reality of death and talking about that death is not the end, that we're eternal, and her husband is now with the Lord. And just that these aspects of life that sadly, as you think about our culture, we've marginalized, faith used to be more central in our culture.
Right,
and so those types of conversations were more regular. People talking about even like death and people, but now it's been pushed to the side, and we live in this, protected or almost this bubble wrap, as though there's not pain and suffering and death and whatnot in the world. And kids know that's ridiculous,
right?
Because they experience it. They look in the mirror and they realize that they're fallen and they're sinners, and they look around and people do die, and all these things. And that's why you end up with anxiety and depression and suicide and kids shooting each other, and so we have the opportunity to break through that and right in the middle of the school day say, no, these things are real. So let's talk about eternity. Let's talk about God. Let's talk about why you feel so broken inside. And then we're seeing the fruit of changed lives.
Yeah. Where you go after death, have those conversations. And the kids are seeing all this happening on television and on their phones. So they know it's out there. They're seeing it in firsthand in their schools. They are seeing it firsthand. So being able to minister to them during those times and give them some biblical principles is essential. So yeah, great job. Appreciate that. How important is Bible education and biblical literacy today?
Well, it's important, and it's growing more and more important because it's so lacking. It's important. You could look at it from a few different angles. I mean, you and I are believers,
yes.
And so we know that the Word of God is eternal. It's living. It's active.
Yes.
It changes hearts.
Yes.
There's nothing more important. And so there are those intrinsic things that we already know. And so to those who are Christians, you almost don't even need to ask and answer the question, right? So maybe I won't even talk about those. But even from a purely, say, pragmatic standpoint, it's critical. For one, there's no book that it has been more influential in the shaping of our society than the Bible. And
the Bible.
That's exactly right. And so to think that someone could even have a well-rounded education without reading and studying the most influential book of all time
don't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Why?
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's the decades and decades of studies that just clearly demonstrate that the connection between when a kid has Bible education in their life, everything else goes better in their life. They make better decisions.
Absolutely.
They have better educational outcomes. They are less likely to fall into substance abuse. I mean, their mental health improves at every possible metric. And that's one of the reasons why when we see the results we see, school educators aren't surprised when they see the positive outcomes because they already know this. Like they know their best behaved kids, their highest achieving kids, their least problem kids are the church kids.
Yes.
Like they already know that. So then when we're able to come in and say, hey, here's a real practical and legal way to get more of your kids into the Bible, into church, into the things of God, 90% of the time they're ecstatic about it, and then when they see the difference, they're not surprised. And again, that's just purely looking at it pragmatically. When you and I both know it's not even about that stuff.
Absolutely,
it's about the eternal. It's about God's creation, glorifying Him and being saved, and all of that. So anyway, we can't talk enough about how important it is.
Yeah, and I believe that it also. Oftentimes if you get the children, you get the parents, Oh, for sure. So as we know that, and with the children having the foundation that they are receiving through LifeWise, and they go home, tell their parents. The parents are seeing the change in them. The parents are seeing that their attitude is getting better. The parents are seeing they speaking more positive and hearing that they speaking more positive. Then they're like, okay, all right.
Right.
Well, maybe we need to go to, And what church it's a domino effect.
It is a very natural domino effect. And it's meeting our culture right where we are. I mean, you have a lot of parents that they've been busy. They've been living their life, and maybe they have a background in church, maybe they don't. But now they have kids, and they want the best for their kids.
Yes.
And they but maybe they don't know exactly what to do, and they want kids of good character, and they're trying to invest in their kids in every way. They're trying to be like, okay, what sports do I put them in? What school are they? All of this, and then there's an opportunity for them to receive Bible-based character education, and so they think that sounds really great. I mean, of course, that sounds great.
Doesn't cost me anything.
Doesn't cost. It's part of the school day. Maybe they take them to church. Maybe they don't. More often than not, they don't. Well, now they put their child in, and the kid's getting this knowledge, and the parents see the results. And the kid is talking about it, right? They're coming back and they're saying, listen to what I learned about today. Hey, have we ever thought about this? And the stories we hear of now the family's reading the Bible together. Now the family's getting plugged into church. I was just preaching in a church east of town, and a family came up to me and said, hey, thanks so much. We're here today because of you. And I was like, oh, great. I thought they came to hear me speak. And they said, no, we're members of this church because we put our daughter in LifeWise. She came home, said, why aren't we going to church? We started coming. We all got baptized. We're all members, and now they're plugged in, and we hear that a lot.
Yeah, that's the domino effect that I've heard and seen personally. And that's the story that I really love to hear, how it is making an effect, starting with the kids, touching the lives of the parents, and then parents are actually starting to attend the church that the kids start walking across the street to, or riding the bus down the street to. Now they're attending that church and having an impact on their community. So that is just beautiful. Being resourceful. So I'm going to leave a few moments to you and say, is there anything that, as you was driving over, you was like, I want to make sure I share this with the watching and listening audience, as well as how can people contact you if they want to be a volunteer, if they want to help, how can they support the cause? Yeah,
well, maybe I would just make a request, and that is we would love to link arms with anybody, particularly through prayer. If you could be praying for our team.
Absolutely.
The exponentially growing organization brings all sorts of challenges that we would never, I would never have known. 5 years ago when you and I met, I would never have imagined some of the things that are required, the details and the things I'm hearing about in meetings. And it's not just about me, but it's about our growing team and our local teams out in the field, communities, right? And some communities, everything just comes together. Other communities, it's a real uphill battle. Some communities, there's people who are really actively opposing the work. There might be those who are really don't want kids to have access to the Bible or whatever reason. And it's just the challenges vary. And the larger we grow, in some ways, the more there is it feels like a target that those who oppose the advancement of the gospel. And so we're not fearful of that. We're very bold. And yet we know that it's going to take the Lord to overcome challenges. It's going to take the Lord beside us. And so we would I'd greatly value prayer for all of our teams, whether it's our staff or volunteers, of families of our team.
Amen.
So that's the thing. And then how people can get connected, really through our website's the best way.
There you go.
LifeWise.org, LIFEWISE.org. And I would invite everybody to take advantage of on our website is that you can look up any school district, in fact, any school building in the nation, and find out what the status is with LifeWise. And so especially if you're here in Central Ohio, LifeWise is in nearly every school district, but maybe not yet at every school building. So you can go on, search the school district, look up, is there already a LifeWise? Is there one at the school building that's nearest me? Maybe you have a child, you could enroll your child. Maybe that's something you could volunteer or get engaged with your local school district, or maybe you're listening, you're out of town, and you can actually help get one started.
That's great.
In your district. So in any case, we'd love to connect with people at lifewise.org.
Amen. Great. That's awesome. Well, Joel, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. I know you're extremely busy. And I want to thank you for taking time out to share with us and bringing awareness to the watching and listening audience about LifeWise Academy and what they are doing, how they are having an impact on our children, our parents, and our community. So I want to say thank you again, and just for spending time with us today. So, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
It's an honor and a privilege. It's great to be with you.
All right. So before we let you go, I want to say, what can we say about Ohio State? So you was on that championship team. We got to get a little plug. You was on the what team was you on? You was on.
I was there 02 to 06. So my freshman
I know
year,
this, but go ahead.
Yeah, my freshman year, I was redshirted, but I happened to be part of a national championship team.
Yeah.
Played under Jim Tressel, and
yeah,
I was blessed. Have I think 3 Big Ten championships while I was there, 1 national championship. I was not a marquee player by any stretch of the imagination. I tell people, if you remember me playing college football, then you care too much about college football and you need to check your priorities. But I got to be on some great teams and have some great teammates.
Well, you are pictured with a really good hit on one of the Michigan guys.
That's my blind squirrel moment.
So again, congratulations for all your success personally and business. So again, I appreciate you, man. It's been 5 years since we connected, and we don't see one all the time, but we see one another periodically, and it's always original and genuine greeting from you. I appreciate that. I value your friendship, and thank you for what you're doing. So
the same. Thank you.
All right. So we want to thank you for listening to Turn Up with Pastor Charlie, and we also would like to thank the River Radio podcast studio for their space that we now occupy to broadcast worldwide. And we also like to say thank you to our visionary, Bert and Stephanie Lindsay, and the Lindsay Foundation, all of our partners, local churches, schools, 501c3s, nonprofit organizations, who all has come beside us for the well-being of our communities. So we say thank you and God bless.